I'll see. Bellular. Why, after all Blizzard did to World of Warcraft? What is this about? Let's see what.
Because why would you support a company that spits on its player base?
Oh, okay.
Well, isn't that the question? Isn't that?
So, this question, I mean, I get it. And it's like, as much as I don't want to give money to a company that I don't like, at the same time, if the game is fun, just fucking play it. If your principle is strong enough that the game is ruined for you because of who made it, then don't play it. At the end of the day, it's just a game, and your principles are your principles. Like, if the principle is enough for you to not play it, just don't play it. But don't tell others how to principle themselves. Like, let's be real. In Shadowlands, when everyone quit because of the sexual allegations, let's just say it like this: if the game was fucking sick, if the game was good, if it was 9.2.5 when it was 9.1, I honestly doubt almost anyone would quit because of the allegations. Straight up. If the game was good, no one would even bat an eye, right? Not a lot of people quit League of Legends when they had the controversy. Not a lot of people quit WoW when they had the Hong Kong stuff going on. No one really cares about all this political mumbo jumbo in the background. Like, it's not that big of a deal for most people. Most people who play it don't even know about that mumbo jumbo. And everyone who quit because it was a bad game, and that was just extra. And they looked for another reason to quit the game, and that was just the last straw. If anything, this question should go to Preach, because Preach said he would stop covering WoW following the lawsuits, right? But now he's covering WoW, so if anything, that should go to Preach. Bellular never said that. He said it was like, it's bad about the controversial, like the whole like sexual assault and stuff like that. He said it was bad, but he never stopped covering WoW. So I don't think it like, and he would obviously play it. It's his main content is WoW.
Not the question, because not all of them do. That's the thing.
That also, yeah.
There's definitely been a lot of stuff that I think has been looking down on the players. That's
looks really
a lot of things.
weird.
I talked about that stuff. Preach has talked about that stuff. I think quite a few other people have as well. We're generally, you could say, of an accord on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely not taken their players seriously. They've definitely made choices against player feedback, and the player feedback has proven to be true. And
again, as Asmund said, I'm not saying like Dragonflight is going to be different. I still think Dragonflight is going to be the same disappointment as Shadowlands and BFA. However, Asmund said it very nicely. Now I just need to remember exactly what he said. I lost my train of thought because of what's it called? Oh yeah. The people who quit, if Dragonflight is good, it is majority in thanks to the people who quit playing it. Because the people who quit playing it made the devs realize that they fucked up. If no one quit during Shadowlands when it was so fucking bad, Dragonflight would be just as dog shit because they can get away with it. So, if you're hating on Blizzard because of what happened during Shadowlands, you're in the right. That being said, you might want to give Dragonflight a shot. I don't know. I don't know if I will. I kind of want to play, but I also kind of want to play during Shadowlands after I took like a massive break and played Final Fantasy. There is still that want kind of thing to play. I just don't have time, so I don't even bother. The only way I played WoW for like the longest time was literally farming gold, passively. Like, I have 5 minutes here and there, I'll just go do my BOE run. If I get something, I make gold. If I don't, I don't.
And this has happened. It's happened many times in a row. Now, equally, I can literally tell you for a fact that there are lots of developers on that team who disagreed. A lot of developers who actually agreed with the players. They obviously just did not get their way in anything.
Yep.
But those developers did exist on that team, I can tell you that. And certainly any of my dealings with, say, the community team, stuff like that, I mean, they're not getting offended that I criticize the game. You know? They're not being like that whatsoever. So it's an interesting thing because not every single person in the company thinks the same way. And I think indeed actually getting a team the size of Blizzard to all be sort of an accord with each other, like that's certainly
not gonna
a
happen.
leadership challenge. And to be honest, I think they have had leadership issues in that team. Now, I don't mean this as a like, this leader's been bad, this leader's been good. I mean, it seems to me anyway, like they've had issues with kind of getting some good old-fashioned decentralized command working well within their organization.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, patch 9.1.5 actually represented the more junior voices actually getting a little bit more space to do things. And of course 9.1.5 was one where a lot of things went better.
Better doesn't mean good, by the way. 9.1.5 was a quick fix to the initial problem, but it didn't actually fix the game. It just made the game what it should have been on release. That's my opinion. And that's like, and I feel like everyone knew this when like 9.0 came out and everyone's playing it. It's like everyone knew that it's like you're gonna have to wait a few good patches before the game actually becomes good. And 9.1.5 is kind of where it became decent. 9.2.5 is probably when it's gonna be good. 9.2 is already actually good.
I know there's been some turnover in the team and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
One or two people I've spoken to have been sort of happy about a few of those. I don't really know what to say.
It is what it is.
But yeah, the whole company's not like that. A lot of people in the company
Yep.
are in fact reasonable to the players.
Yep.
And ultimately actions mean more than words.
The thing is, it's like you only have very select few people from Blizzard who are on Twitter and are actually toxic. And I would say majority of devs don't bother going on Twitter, and they just they do their job and they want to be a good job, and the people who are on Twitter are ruining it for them. But these guys don't care. They just want to do their job to the best of their abilities because they love what they do. I want to believe that that's majority of the dev team, and just because there's some bad apples that go on Twitter and talk shit and they're like all LGBTQ and whatever and like call people toxic and all that shit, it's like it's neither here nor there. It's like no one cares about you guys, kind of thing. It's like you're a very vast minority. Like you can care about again, maybe all of Blizzard cares about all this like LGBTQ stuff and whatever, and it's like it's fine if you do. I'm not against it, but they're not what do you call it? It's not the hill they're gonna die on Twitter. They just want to do their job, kind of thing. It's like I just want to make WoW a good game, and that's it.
And what we're finally seeing this time around is actions.
Yeah.
Right? Fundamentally, this
process yes, but you also don't really see anything right now. Right now, all Dragonflight has to offer really is dragon riding, which was good, and then they kind of ruined it. But like, we'll see. Maybe they'll fix it back. Maybe this is how it is. Maybe it gets better with upgrades. I don't no one knows yet. But it's like as far as like actual content goes, no one really knows yet.
Infinitely better than any of the ones I've been a part of. There's more posts. They're more communicative. Stuff is actually happening to more of a reasonable schedule.
Yeah,
it's seriously.
It does like the good signs. I would say that's like there is. It seems like there's like time management now in the development, at least like how they're doing the alpha. This again steps in the right direction. Doesn't mean it's everything is good now, but it's better than it was. But it's like, let's say if you're like at a negative 100 with the people, right? With the customer service, not customer, with the PR, right? With public relations, you're at negative 100 to the people. If you're at minus 80, it's a better standing. It doesn't mean it's good. You're still at negative 80, but it is a step in the right direction, right?
It's just so much better this time. Killing Glove dropped a $10 super. The thing designers are supposed to do is listen to what the players say they want and translate that into what the players need.
I agree, but at the same time, I would rather have the devs just know what the fuck they need to do.
I'm skeptical of their ability to do that. High hopes, though. Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, so often...
That's how it is.
Yeah, you can't just sort of... There are times where it's like, just give the people what they want.
Yep.
But there's other times where you could give the people what they want, but there could be negative impacts to that further down the line that the players may not be thinking about. And yeah, it's the designer's job to not necessarily take literally what the player wants, but it's to take the emotion that the player is experiencing, the frustration that the player is experiencing, and via their design meet that frustration.
Yeah.
Which I think that's why a bunch of your game has this and it made me feel that way. That is some of the best stuff for a game designer to actually work on, right? So really, it's talking about feelings, because I mean the games are to make us feel, right? And
I guess.
I mean, feeling, that's like the impact of it.
Enjoy.
And I think what they want to know is, what is the impact of my design? Because if they don't know the emotional impact of their design, it's very hard for them to actually calibrate themselves to what the player thinks. Which it's certainly a lesson, thinking more about how does it make us feel versus what do we want. I spend a lot of time saying, I want deterministic loot. Another side there is, well, why do I feel that way? Well, it's because I feel the RNG constantly fucks me.
Yes.
And that's disappointing.
Yes.
Okay, that's the true problem.
The true problem, yeah. So for example, this is what happened between Legion and BFA. They said it's like they're gonna, because they removed Titan Forging, they also reduce the amount of loot you get. Sorry, no. In BFA you actually get a lot of loot, and then Shadowlands they reduce the amount of loot, not because of Titan. Was it because of Titan Forging? I think they removed Titan Forging in BFA. Or BFA actually had Titan Forging. Can't remember. I feel like they removed Titan Forging for BFA, but either way, it's either between Legion and BFA or BFA to Shadowlands. Where they said that it's like we're gonna remove the amount of loot you get. I think it was BFA to Shadowlands. In BFA you were getting a lot of loot that you just had to disenchant. It was like just trash, right? And so what they did was they're like, okay, you know what? We heard you. We're gonna reduce the amount of loot. That was not the problem. The problem wasn't the amount of loot. The problem was the amount of useless loot. So in Shadowlands, what you got was less loot, but it was still useless. So it didn't fix the problem. It made the problem worse, because now, not only are you getting less loot, it's also still shitty loot. There was no way to target loot that you wanted. You would still have to run a Mythic Plus dungeon hundreds of times to get the trinket you want. Right? That was the problem, and it still isn't fixed. Right? That's the main issue. So for example, if you make it so that Mythic Plus dungeons would drop a token, like let's say Valor points. Now, first of all, I do not agree that there's a weekly maximum on Valor points. I think that should be removed. If people want to grind the fuck out of Valor points, they can do it. First of all. Second of all, Valor points should not only be for upgrades, should also be for buying the base version of an item. So for example, if there's a trinket in a Mythic Plus dungeon that you want, you can do the plus 15, get it at a level 13 out of 15 upgrades, and then upgrade it twice with Valor. You can do that, you can farm it out. Or, if let's say you have a really shitty luck, but you have a lot of Valor points because you have shitty luck, you can buy the item for Valor and upgrade it to the max level. That would solve that problem, but WoW doesn't want to do that. And also, you can have diminishing returns on Valor. So for example, the first 1,000 Valor points for the week are easier to get than the next 1,000, which are easier to get than the next 1,000. You can get a diminishing return if you want. And the 1%ers that want to like maximize their character as soon as possible, they can grind it out if they want, who cares? But like majority of players don't have to. Right? If you want to do it, you can. Right? I don't necessarily think that the diminishing returns is a good thing. I think like just let players fucking get the Valor points so they can max out their characters, so they can play other characters. I think that's totally fine. Or leave and do other shit. I think that's totally fine. But as far as loot goes, yeah, make it more targetable. Let people get the loot they want. Stop making it so fucking impossible to make your character the best version you can. To like, for example, okay, here's what I hate the most. I don't really want to play alts. I don't mind playing alts. I would dabble in sometimes. What I want is, I wanted to have different builds for my red paladin. I want to have a haste build, I want to have a crit build, I want to try out dot build with certain talents, I want to try a high mastery build for like the nukes, I want to have versatility and mastery for PvP. I want all of that. Problem is, I can't target that. So I would have to make do with what I had. Why? It's temporary anyways. There's no way in 6 months, which is too long for a patch cycle to be, but that's approximately what it was in Shadowlands. There's no way that in 6 months you would be able to get all of the, like, all the items you want to the best of your capabilities for the builds you want. If you have multiple builds that you're thinking of, there's no fucking way. Way too much time investment. Not gonna happen unless like you live to play the game, which I wish I could, but I can't. Right? Just let people play the fucking game the way they want to. Let them get the gear they want to, and let them play other characters if they want to. You're literally like just time gating them until the next patch. So like there's almost no reason. So it's like right now what happens is you are much rather not to play the whole expansion up until the last season of the expansion and hope that there's like 13 months delay between the last season to the expansion. So then you can actually play the game the way it was intended for like a year. Literally that's the best way to play the game right now. Or just don't upgrade, and hopefully there's enough people like you that don't upgrade to the next expansion. Play for 2 years, like no, not 2 years. Play for like a year and a half until the last patch of the next expansion comes out. Then you can buy the game. Then you can play that for another like 2 years until the last patch of the next expansion comes out. It's like I honestly wish more people would do that, but it's not gonna happen.
Problem. What are the design solutions around that problem? Which, you know, it could be Valor points, it could be the way that they've designed crafting in this expansion.
Doubt it. I feel like crafting is not gonna be as good as people think. Again, it's nice that there's the crafting effort that they're putting, but I doubt it'll be as good as people want it to be. I really doubt it, because they're still in the mindset that in order to do the hardest content, you need to get the gear from the hardest content, which means you have to grind the hardest content in order to clear the hardest content. Right? It's not like heroic gear is enough to clear mythic content. You need mythic gear to clear mythic content. But then it's like, what's the point of killing the last boss for gear if you already kill the last boss, kind of thing? It's like, no, you want the best in slot gear before you kill the hardest stuff, because that makes sense, right? It's like, what's the point of getting more gear after you clear the content? There's almost no point for it. You want to get the gear in order to kill the content. Right? It's like, so you need to get the gear before. That's why I'm saying, like, in my opinion, mythic raiding should be all cosmetics, should be more of a boss rush rather than like a regular story mode, like where you kill all the trash and stuff. Just do boss after boss after boss. Just do that as a mythic raid. You do not need to do all that other stuff. Stop with the mythic BOE trash and all that stuff. You don't need it. Just make it cosmetic, because most people who are doing mythic content are like, I would say, a good chunk of them doing it for the gear. But if there was no gear, they would still do it for the transmogs and because they want the cutting edge. And the ones who are doing the 3 first bosses of mythic, you're just gonna save them time. They can play other shit, and as well as play other stuff inside of your game. Try different classes and stuff like that. Get certain mogs that they're looking forward, you know. People just don't have as much time anymore, like, it's to do like the shit that you want them to do in the game, which is not even a lot, but like it's just extremely time consuming. Yeah, anyways, that's the video. Somehow made a 4-minute video into a 20-minute video, but hey, I'm working on being better with reacting, so hopefully this continues, and I'll see you in the next one.